The first aspect that I mentioned in the previous reading as well is Mars in Scorpio, opposition to Uranus and Taurus at 12 degrees 16 minutes. It's all happening in the period which is leading to peak volatility, as we have Mars opposing Uranus and Saturn is about to make its last square to Uranus. And Uranus is about to go direct in January. All of which pertains to unexpected, surprising turn of events. Actions so radical, so surprising, so out of a comfort zone, you would surprise yourself and others, especially if you have fixed signs with planets or points around 12 degree. So Taurus, Scorpio, Leo, Aquarius. Mars opposition to Uranus we are experiencing is sudden anger, energy released collectively, unexpected ego conflict, sudden disruptive financial or physical earth event which can alter our plans. Yet in this disruption sits the liberation, the permission to be weird, to be oneself. Being actively the agent of the creative change in your life, which you would look back and be surprised how you had the guts to just do it after being in stagnant waters for far too long. It's the classic phoenix moment, enveloped in the warm, steady blanket of Taurus full moon. We bring about a life change. Very dramatically, but with a steady stream of emotions persistently focused on a productive goal. All this chaos is not for nothing. It's to liberate ourselves from unnecessary, outdated, inhibiting restrictions we perceive external elements have laid on us. But they're truly long-seated in our own existence, and external manifestation is just the way to fight them physically. In Scorpio and Taurus axis, we are usually having this fight of worthiness, fight of talent, ego, sustenance, addiction to people or substance who are harming us, but we continue to encourage and continue with that dysfunction in the name of stability and security. And eclipses will not have any of that. The 2 years of North Node in Taurus, the journey that we are about to embark upon from 18th of January 2002, of which this full moon is a precursor, it is a cycle of worthiness, cycle of pleasure, cycle of gratification, a cycle of releasing any control we have given of our life through dependency on another, the waiting to be gratified by another, versus the Aphrodite ruled karmic quest to satisfy the pleasures we physically crave by ourselves. Our Venusian side is calling us home for its dramatic unfoldment. The Uranus shadow, which we are experiencing right now, they are not emotional in nature as much as they look like, because they actually shatter the fake ideals we are living in name of emotions or inertia. They reveal what is absolute truth. So they're actually a moment of objective clarity. What fantasy or ideal or stagnancy is Uranus losing your grip on? Think about that. What is the fantasy? What is the ideal? What is the stagnancy you know is being shattered right now? Both Uranus in Taurus and Scorpio, they are about rebirth. But Taurus and Scorpio parts of our chart are also the hoarders. They're the hoarders of resentments. They're the hoarders of glorified wounds, of wounded egos, of wounded dignity, withholding love, affection, and gratification over some fake ideals, over some outdated resentments, over people long gone. Uranus is cleaning the storage box of attic. This attic of resentments, hoarded emotions, wants, and desires. You'll find that the shadow we are feeling right now, all of them are being woken up. Uranus-Mars contacts They release raw libido. Raw libido to get our fair share in shared resources and shared situations. Emotionally, physically, financially. And they're long-term definitive actions which we are starting right now. They aren't pure emotional outpours or moment of madness as much as they might look like in the moment, but they are not. These actions and drives you're feeling right now, they run deep. They've been suppressed for a while. And now Uranus is making them free. It's essentially giving us the radical confidence to be free to live those drives, those deep suppressed drives. Uranus opposition, which we are experiencing right now, the annual turning points in the 7-year revolutionary process from 2018 to 2026 in worthiness, in resources, in our sense of self, in value we place on our own talents and resources, and value we place on our earth resources, our relationship with our planet, or our physical resources, our way to earn income or create assets or accumulate things, what value we place on things, our way to show love, our investments, stock market, water, food, crops, farms, earth resources. This is the 7-year revolutionary process in all of them. And these are the turning point in all of them. The opposition is a split point. We have to irrevocably change something, break a cord. There is a physical separation, and the more exact the degree of Uranus interaction with the personal planets or points you have, around 12 degree of fixed sign, the more physically this separation is felt. This particular cycle of separation from the past, as I mentioned in the previous reading, it began in May this year, and it would only be fully physically assimilated by May of 2022. It's a 1-year process. That's the time it seemingly takes for us to change our vibration so we can start attracting different external reality, as we discussed in the previous reading. But honestly, it's a snap, isn't it? It takes a moment to change our perspective, a moment to simplify things, making life a little bit easier for ourselves. Because it's a decision we make to finally act differently in a place we were stagnant for long. How would you act if you lived the I want and I have belief of Taurus archetype? The I want and I have belief, which is the road to success over the course of next 2 years. How would you act if you recognize, acknowledge your need to experience joy, peace, comfort, security, touch, sensual pleasures on a daily basis in simply, purely mundane, accepted as a fact life form? How would you act if you did not have to act in a certain way to deserve something, but rather just accepted that you, the Aphrodite, attracts resources by virtue of purely existing and being you? How would you act if you accept that things aren't given or taken from you on a whim, but rather we create them? How would you act if the belief did not exist, that you had to somehow toil through the darkness or psychological complexes, always to earn your right to value, abundance, assets of your choice? That's the Scorpio process that we need to release and distance ourselves from. That's the road to success over the course of next 2 years. In Mars-Uranus aspects, our actions need to speak differently. Our actions need to speak differently in that worthiness to show that our vibration and external reality that we are going for has changed. If you don't act in worthiness, you cannot attract abundance. This is our chance to work on a radically new direction. And the next 2 years, with North Node in Taurus and Uranus in Taurus, with each eclipse, we would consciously bring about further progress on this. But this moment we are in right now, it is a critical moment, for we would be challenged to see, can we act in the new direction? Or do we give in to the fear of change from a constant part of our life? Do we try to suppress the new stream of life that is screaming out of us? Because suppressing that new stream of life, all that's going to do is create physical dissonance within you. You cannot really stop this change. You really cannot. You can delay the whole process by creating resistance in your body against it, but you cannot stop this change even if you wanted to. Could you? Do you actively participate in this change and then bring it in a form that's more desirable for you? Or you be the resistant part of it? External disruption that we would so much hate or are hating with this aspect is the true test as well as the instigator of change. It doesn't let us be complacent, because without friction we tend to get complacent in the Taurus and even the Scorpio parts of our chart. So this disruption, or the external disruption that we're feeling right now, it is not letting us be complacent in going at our own pace with change. It's pushing us to speed it up. The steady Taurus moon, it is giving us the tenacity to mold this chaos into productive outcome of change, and we must take advantage of that. It's a North Node eclipse. North Node eclipse gives us something valuable. In Taurus, it's something of financial, physical value to us. But we'll have to go through this dissonance to get there. And the North Node element will only get activated in February of 2022. So we'll have to toil through this dissonance till then. It wouldn't be added in the way we expected. It wouldn't happen in the way we expected or even wanted. That's how Uranus is. Things are unexpected. Things are wild card events. A persistent decision is made though, with purposeful, relentless action, which right now Mars in Scorpio is enabling us to do. But the physical accidents, the impulsive unconscious accidents and actions, and this meeting freedom in other people's freedom with resistance, because we're going to do that. We're going to not like the freedom other people are feeling as well, because we are going to superimpose our own fears on how free they are feeling. These are shadow expressions of this aspect, which you might already be seeing, and we do need to be physically careful of them. As I warned before, especially for around 12th degree of fixed sign. So the physical accidents, the impulsive unconscious actions, and this whole meeting freedom in others people, freedom with resistance due to our own fears, we have to be careful about that. Focus on liberating yourself. Focus on liberating yourself from any inhibition in your ambition. Focus on liberating your creativity, your abundance, your financial stagnancy. Act with freedom, act with self-determination towards your radical new directions. Your actions would be met with resistance, not just now, but 6 months down again. Keep at it. Liberate your life. A physical act attached to this eclipse. It sort of announces to the world our ambition. It's us shouting from the rooftop, I know I deserve this. I want and I have. The second aspect that is playing out right now as a part of this eclipse, which will influence us till all the way at the very least till February of 2022, is that Jupiter in Aquarius is forming a T-square to this full moon at 24 degree of Aquarius. Jupiter in Aquarius, it forms a near close fixed T-square with this full moon, and that makes it evident that growth is the outcome of this eclipse. And growth is also the way out of this pressure cooker situation which is being created. Growth is the way to get ahead of this energy. Jupiter in Aquarius is your ticket out of this. Mars is the way to act on it, that we must act differently. But the way to balance the Taurus and the Scorpio power of a chart, which is the conscious and the unconscious, is to perform the task of Jupiter in Aquarius, which is growth. Jupiter is spending the last few weeks in Aquarius. On 28th of December, Jupiter is going to move into Pisces. The fixed square which is forming during this eclipse, it reflects great stress which needs a release. A rigid situation which you're not able to decide on, but it has a powerful outcome. It shows strength of will. It shows your determination. It shows the concentration of energy which is possible with this aspect. It's like you can focus the Taurus and the Scorpio energy which is playing out, and you can channel it all into a growth ambition, which is the Jupiter in Aquarius part of your chart. Considering it involves Jupiter making a hard aspect with both Sun and Moon, this aspect is bound to spur us on. It's like something that just flips us, and we have the energy and the enthusiasm to not stop till we have achieved the growth that we wish to achieve. As long as we manage the excess and the edgy arrogance or the self-righteousness that comes with this aspect, we should be good. It's even favorable. It's a point of release of this aspect. Jupiter is the point of release of this eclipse. Growth is the outcome. We need to, with this, learn to express the Jupiter and Aquarius part of our chart positively. We are motivated to grow through friction, to prosper, to bring our substantial contribution to the society. Jupiter is growth, and in Aquarius, the growth comes from unexpected and ahead of time avenues. It's sudden. It's laced in conflict and tension, but it's still like, oh, it's finally happening. That's how Jupiter and Aquarius growth happens. It's like sudden flash. You would have this happened last in end of Jupiter was last year, December 2009 to January 2010. So if you have planets in the end part of Aquarius, you would have seen this, it's finally happening part kind of energy towards December 2009 to January 2010. So do you feel it? I don't know. You'll see it in the coming weeks if that's coming for you. Growth comes from not being stuck in the past anymore. Growth comes from steadying ourselves actively, emotionally, from not ignoring the flash of insights and intuitions that are coming to us, which is what Jupiter in Aquarius does. There's sudden insight that comes to us and boom, that's it. That's your growth. But not drowning in the emotions at the moment. Growth comes from friends, associations, platforms, fans, social media. When we try to create something together, or when we try to help a large set of population, our tribe, who we need to actively tap into during this time. For every person, every rule, every administration, every authority, every negativity that blocks you, there is a supportive peer or associate or friend or a fan or a friend or a sibling who you would be able to tap into for growth, provided we stay stable emotionally. Jupiter in Aquarius yields best results when we balance our emotions a little bit, when we are dealing with the others. And that's our work. And that's the benefit of an emotionally steady Taurus moon as well. So use the internet, use the platform, grow in the Jupiter and Aquarius part of your chart. I mentioned that in the source of your abundance for the next 20 years, because what's happening, Jupiter was last year, 2009. We had this transit, Jupiter in Aquarius in 2009. It's leaving Aquarius. So it's going to leave an outcome. It's meant to help us seed the source of our material growth for the next 20 years this year. We spoke about this in 2020. When Saturn and Jupiter came together in December of 2020, I told you what we are seeing in Jupiter and Aquarius power of our chart, that is going to be the source of our material growth for the next 20 years. Though no two growth periods look alike, but you could draw parallels from the period from December of 2009 to January of 2010. How did you transition to the next growth phase of your life at that time? It might give you clues on what kind of benefit you might be looking at. Or you could, of course, look at the sign-specific, very detailed reading I did for each of your sign, where I've gone into what's the source of your next 20 years of growth, because that is the outcome, that is the benefit, that is the direction, that is the pressure cooker outlet of this eclipse. What's the benefit in terms of growth in Jupiter in Aquarius, which is meant to be offered to you? And I did 2 videos on that for each of the sign. I'll link that in the description and in the comments so you can access that. The positive expression of this energy, it puts us in a dogged quest to find the answers, to get the right kind of rewards, the right social influence. Jupiter in Aquarius, it gives us the inner freedom to commit to an ideal, a life purpose that we truly believe in. Through friction, you are going to get more resolute over the purpose of your life. You and I have been living Jupiter in Aquarius this year, trying to find our ideal, trying to find our life purpose. But the growth with Jupiter in Aquarius is meant to be one of quality, not of quantity. Growth doesn't mean endless search and wandering. So at this phase of Jupiter in Aquarius, discernment is required. Discernment is required to not blindly follow any path on blind belief. But now that we have been through this journey of back and forth, now consciously choose your path. The conscious planet like Jupiter in sign like Aquarius, it requires us to examine the possibilities which were presented to us this year, and now with focus pursue the ones that we feel right about. Growth needs periods of assimilation, moments of quiet, moments of isolation, to enjoy the freedom of the options we have created this year, versus endlessly wandering and searching after each one of them. Focus your growth plans. These are some of the negative expressions that I'm trying to tell you to contain. Though negative expressions with Jupiter are not so negative, we just need to contain them to make them positive, because Jupiter is a great benefic. Approach to life here is positive, even though it deals with the collective and the welfare for all, which is what Aquarius qualities are. It's best approached by not just understanding the collective need and the collective suffering, but at this stage, we need to constructively, materially create the solutions and the answers to the collective needs we have figured out this year. Creating a new experience for the collective without overextending ourselves, because that's the negative of Jupiter in Aquarius, without overextending our own self, as well as disappointing others by empty promises. So those are things we need to be careful about. Maintain your faith in future. Maintain your faith in human resilience despite what the global events are telling you. Don't get jaded by the process of it all. For external wealth and for knowledge within you, the wealth of knowledge that is sitting within you, to attract wealth through that, your faith on abundance needs to be there. Abundance requires you to stay connected to the inner abundance. And from a place of that positive expectation, share your wealth of knowledge to attract wealth spiritually, emotionally, and materially. Jupiter in Aquarius as the apex of this full moon, it helps us grow materially. It helps us grow materially through the work that achieves teaching, knowledge share, travel, counsel, publication, education, psychology, law, religion, New Age religion, not the old religion, justice, generosity. These are what prosper under Jupiter and Aquarius outputs. Original ideas which are ahead of time and they're mentally evolved, they achieve their share of material growth after a whole year of back and forth on them. And growth ushers through collaborations, through social platforms, through social work, through social welfare, through commonwealth themes, through friends, through fans, through platforms, philanthropy, large-scale initiatives that benefits the collective. The negative expression of this aspect, which we need to be careful of, is refusal to compromise or being flexible in the situation. We need to be flexible in the situation. Overcommitting, overextending, blindly believing in the impossible future without any work in the present. The other negative expressions of Jupiter with the apex of a full moon could be excess, weight gain, liver troubles, compulsive patronizing giving. As I said, the negatives of Jupiter are very easily contained and made into a positive. So that was the key second aspect that is playing out. The third and the last aspect that is playing out during this eclipse, which will influence us for the next at least 3 months, is Venus in Capricorn. The ruler of this eclipse is Venus, and that is making a beautiful Earth trine with Uranus in Taurus at 12 degrees 13 minutes. So it's sort of, giving a get-go or flailing a flag of green or go ahead to the growth of the new and unconventional. And it is also offering some sort of support from traditional corners. It's saying this unconventional idea will get its financial support as well as emotional support. It points to some surprising source of support or sudden love, sudden support, sudden money that will indicate to us a green flag. Venus in Capricorn is boosting our ambition. It's boosting our need for financial and structural growth. And we have 4 months of Venus in Capricorn, as we would find ourselves with Venus retrograde at the end of the year. We'll find ourselves reviewing some of our material choices, our ambitions, especially our connections. Who are the people who can help us in our ambitious path? What is our connection, our way of connecting with them? So the Venus retrograde cycle, end of December in Capricorn, it would revive our zest to go after our ambitions. And it would teach us what kind of stability in money, in relationships we value. It's like coming back of ambition, coming back of zest for money, zest for ambition, zest for relationships that are valuable and stable. What connections can lead us to the ambitions that we crave? We would most likely reinvent our relationships and connections with people who can help support us. People who can help support us in our ambition, in our goals, and in our material gains. I have seen Venus retrograde in Capricorn give birth to marriages of ambitions. So we find those partners, like a work husband or a work wife, essentially. So these are marriages of ambitions, like the Belt and Road Initiative, which was born out of the last cycle of Venus retrograde in Capricorn in December 2013 and January of 2014. That was the period from December 2013 and it concluded in February of 2014. So December 2013 to February 2014 is when last Venus was retrograde in Capricorn. And that ended with China shaking hands with Russia, the classic marriage of ambitions over Belt and Road Initiative. We are now in the shadow period of the retrograde. That's why I'm talking about it, which doesn't mean that things financially are slowing down, but rather the decisions that you're taking right now on finances, on love, on creativity, which are of material value to you, and the connections with authority, connections with ambitions, connection with people who can help you in your ambition, that will go through some back and forth this year. The actual financial contracts or the investments as well that you might be making right now from 17th of November to 19th of December, especially in physical assets, they could undergo another review from 19th of December to 29th of December. And the final outcome, the final output of it will be from 29th of December to 1st of March. So is the meteor headed towards economy? Is that what it means when we have Venus retrograde in Capricorn? This aspect alone cannot suggest that, but yes, because Pluto will be conjunct Venus through the cycle, we would be restructuring or there will be a rebirth of some financial assets. There will be a rebirth of our relationship with authorities. There will be a rebirth of our work connections. We will also discover control issues over resources. In global events, we will see that in form of who controls the oil. Pluto is oil. So when Venus and Pluto is the main aspect playing out during Venus retrograde, we'll see the conflict over who controls the oil, who's the head of the economic order. This is control over resources, which we'll see back and forth on. It would be a period of rebirth of earth resources and the value we attach to it. So big construction materials, real estate industry, monopolies, land development, control of borders, building supply, timber, stoneworks, housing market, baking goods, coal, mining. These are themes which are associated with Venus in Capricorn in terms of financial impact. This is not financial advice. I'm telling you astrologically what are the themes attached to Venus in Capricorn. And we could see power dynamics being played around it, which essentially would show us who's the boss of these resources. We can even see rationing of some of these resources. Venus in Capricorn with Pluto, it comes with politics of money. It comes with politics of resources, which country has the resources and how they hoard it. It comes with rationing sometimes of assets. But ahead of that, this positive aspect which is playing out during this eclipse, which is Venus trine Uranus, it can show you a way in your particular situation of how not to be stuck in old prosperity. It could make some marriages of ambitions. We will see that in countries combining forces against this hoarding of resources, like, a new affiliation or new marriage of ambition against the oil cartel, for example. Similarly, in your situation, you could find your own cartel, your own companion who can help you stand against this control of resources cycle that is ahead of us for the next few months, all the way till 1st of March. It can show you a new way out of the old prosperity, of being stuck in the old way of making money or old control dynamics. For example, if you have a control dynamics within authority, it can show you a new way to get out of that. It is green flagging a new way to handle the politics of money, the politics of authority figures. We did not have Pluto involved in the last cycle from December of 2013 to February 2014, but we do right now. So you would need this companion to ride you through the cycle of financial shifts. So that's what I have for you across the global events, across the personal events. Hope you find your next frontier of growth. Thank you very much. I'll see you in the next reading now.